Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. Get ready for an epic journey of light against shadows. In this 24-chapter tale, follow Juma and Malika as they battle the remnants of a vanquished enemy only to discover that their victory was just the beginning. A deeper, more insidious darkness rises, testing their courage and unity. From cryptic warnings and ancient cults to harrowing battles against shadowy figures and powerful guardians, they confront forces that threaten their city's very soul. Can they break the cycle and protect their home from eternal darkness? Each chapter unfolds new perils and twists that will keep you holding your breath until the very end. In the wake of their victory, Juma and Malika emerged from the chamber, the weight of Zai's presence still heavy in the air. They had defeated him, but the remnants of darkness lingered, reminding them that the battle was far from over. "We need to alert others," Juma said, his mind racing. "Zai's influence reaches far beyond this place. We have to warn the city about the dangers of dark magic." Malika nodded, determination sparking in her eyes. "Yes, we must rally our allies and show them that unity can break the chains of fear." As they spread the word, they encountered those who had also suffered under Zai's reign. Together, they formed a coalition of light, vowing to protect one another from the encroaching darkness. But even as hope blossomed, Juma felt a nagging fear gnawing at him. Zai's warning echoed in his mind: shadows are never truly vanquished. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. Days turned into weeks as they worked tirelessly to educate the people about the dangers of dark magic. They held gatherings, shared stories of resilience, and forged connections that transcended the fear Zai had instilled. Yet, the shadows continued to lurk in the corners of their lives, whispering doubts and sowing seeds of discord. Juma struggled with his own fears, wondering if Zai would return to claim his vengeance. Despite their efforts, the shadows began to creep back into the city, cloaking it in an air of despair. Reports of disappearances surfaced, and whispers filled the streets, carrying tales of a new darkness rising. Juma felt the unease settle in his gut as he and Malika stood before their gathered allies. "We can't let fear consume us again," Juma declared, raising his voice above the murmurs. "We defeated Zai once, and we can do it again. We must remain vigilant and united." But Malika's expression was grim. "It's not just Zai we need to worry about. The dark magic he harnessed has tainted this city, and it's creating new shadows. We must confront this head-on." As night fell, the coalition met to strategize their next steps. Each member shared stories of dark encounters, strange figures lurking in alleyways, shadowy whispers echoing through their homes, and friends disappearing without a trace. "We have to find the source of this darkness," Malika urged. "There's something deeper at play here." Juma and Malika, alongside their allies, began a perilous search for the source of the encroaching darkness. They traveled to the outskirts of the city, where the shadows seemed to thicken and twist in unnatural ways. After days of exploration, they stumbled upon a decrepit library, overgrown with vines and nearly swallowed by the surrounding forest. "This place feels different," Juma murmured as they approached. "It's like it's alive with dark energy." Inside, they found dusty tomes and scrolls detailing ancient rituals, including forbidden spells and dark pacts. As they sifted through the pages, they uncovered references to a cult, one that had existed long before Zai. They were practitioners of dark magic, Malika whispered, her brow furrowing. They sought power and immortality through sacrifices. It seems Zai was merely a puppet in a much larger game. Juma''s heart raced as he realized the implications. If this society still exists, they could be behind the recent dark events. We have to find them before they can enact their plans. As Juma and Malika continued their research, they learned that the cult, known as the Veil, was rumored to gather during the new moon, a time when shadows were at their strongest. Determined to stop them, the coalition prepared for the impending confrontation. On the night of the new moon, they ventured to an abandoned estate where the Veil was said to convene. The air crackled with tension, and the shadows felt heavier, almost alive, as they approached the decaying structure. We need to stay together, Malika instructed, her voice steady despite the unease that hung over them. The power of the Veil is derived from their rituals. If we can disrupt their gathering, we can weaken them. As they entered the estate, they were met with a chilling sight. Hooded figures surrounded a large altar, chanting incantations that echoed off the walls. Flickering candles cast grotesque shadows that danced eerily, and the atmosphere felt thick with impending dread. Juma and Malika exchanged glances, their resolve hardening. Now or never, Juma whispered, and together they advanced into the dimly lit chamber. Without warning, the chanting stopped, and the hooded figures turned towards them, their faces obscured. Interlopers, one of them snarled, voice dripping with contempt. You dare to disrupt our sacred rite? We won't let you continue your dark practices. Juma shouted, his voice filled with defiance. With a wave of their hands, the figures unleashed torrents of dark energy towards Juma and Malika. The shadows lunged at them, attempting to ensnare their bodies in an inescapable grip. But Juma, fueled by the memories of his struggles and the strength of his allies, raised his hands and summoned the light within him. We stand united against you, he cried, unleashing a radiant beam that cut through the darkness. The light collided with the shadows, creating a blinding explosion that illuminated the chamber. The hooded figures shrieked as they were thrown back, their dark powers dissipating like smoke in the wind. Yet, from within the chaos, a figure stepped forward, shrouded in shadows. You think you can defeat us so easily, it hissed, voice chillingly familiar. Juma's heart sank as the figure emerged from the darkness. Zai returned and more powerful than before. Did you miss me? He taunted, a sinister grin stretching across his face. We defeated you once, Zai. Juma shouted, determination surging through him. We won't let you manipulate us again. Zai's laughter echoed through the chamber. You think you can resist the power of the Veil? They have given me strength beyond your comprehension. With a flick of his wrist, Zai summoned a wave of shadows that surged toward Juma and Malika, wrapping around them like a vice. The coalition gasped as they watched their leaders struggle against the encroaching darkness. Hold on. Malika shouted, channeling her energy to push back against the shadows. We can't give in. Juma felt the shadows tightening, threatening to consume him. But amidst the darkness, he remembered Malika's words, together, they were stronger. We can break this, he shouted, focusing on the light they had shared. Drawing on their connection, Juma and Malika combined their magic, creating a radiant shield that pushed back against Zai's darkness. The shadows recoiled, and Zai's expression twisted in rage. Foolish children. Zai screamed, the shadows swirling violently around him. You will regret this. With a final surge of power, Zai lunged at them, unleashing a torrent of darkness that threatened to engulf the entire chamber. Juma and Malika stood firm, their light shining brighter than ever as they faced the oncoming storm. Together. Juma cried, and with that, they raised their hands, channeling their combined magic into a brilliant beam of light. The light pierced through the shadows, illuminating the chamber and forcing Zai back. No. "This can't be," he shrieked, his form flickering as the shadows clawed at him, desperate to regain control. Juma felt the energy surging within him, fueled by the strength of his allies and the love he shared with Malika. "You're nothing but a puppet, Zai. Your darkness has no power here." As their magic clashed with Zai's darkness, the chamber erupted in blinding light. The shadows shrieked in anguish as the light consumed them, Zai's form twisting in pain. With a final, defiant roar, Zai was engulfed by the light, his power shattering like glass. The remaining members of the Veil fell silent, their dark energies dissipating into the air, leaving only echoes of despair. As the dust settled and the light faded, Juma and Malika stood amidst the remnants of their victory. The altar lay in ruins, and the hooded figures were nowhere to be seen, their power extinguished. "We did it," Malika whispered, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. "We stopped them." Juma wrapped his arms around her, feeling the warmth of their shared light. "Together, we can overcome anything. The shadows can't control us if we stand united." As dawn broke over the city, the first rays of sunlight bathed the landscape in golden hues. They returned to their coalition, ready to heal the wounds of the past and rebuild what Zai had tried to destroy. But as they celebrated their hard-fought victory, Juma couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows might return one day. The battle against darkness was never truly over, it would be a constant struggle. In the weeks that followed, Juma and Malika worked tirelessly to rebuild their city. They organized workshops to teach the importance of unity and resilience, ensuring that everyone understood the power of light over darkness. But even as the city flourished, Juma often found himself gazing into the distance, haunted by the knowledge that darkness lurked just beyond their borders. What if Zai returns? He pondered aloud one night as they stood on a hill overlooking the city. Malika took his hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll be ready. We've faced the darkness before, and we can do it again. Together." As time passed, the city thrived, but whispers of strange occurrences began to circulate. People reported feeling watched in the dead of night, and shadows seemed to move independently, lurking in alleyways and corners. "Something isn't right," Juma said, his brows furrowing with concern. "We thought we had put an end to Zai's darkness, but it seems to be lingering." Determined to get to the bottom of it, Juma and Malika organized a gathering, encouraging everyone to share their experiences. As stories unfolded, a pattern emerged. Individuals were reporting strange visions and encounters with shadowy figures. "We can't let this go unchecked," Malika declared, her voice steady. "We need to confront this new darkness before it consumes us." Juma and Malika led their coalition deeper into the heart of the city, determined to uncover the truth behind the rising darkness. Their journey took them to places they had never ventured, uncovering forgotten histories and hidden truths. One fateful night, they stumbled upon an ancient shrine, half buried beneath the roots of a colossal tree. The air around the shrine crackled with dark energy, sending chills down their spines. "This place feels wrong," Juma whispered, stepping cautiously forward. The stone structure was adorned with carvings depicting horrific rituals and offerings to unknown entities, chilling in their vivid detail. Malika reached out, tracing a finger along one of the engravings. "These symbols, they're similar to what we found in the library," she noted, her voice trembling. "It's like they're summoning something dark." Just as she spoke, the ground trembled, and a voice echoed through the trees, low and haunting. "Fools! You dare to disturb my slumber." The ground erupted as a figure cloaked in shadow emerged, its eyes glowing like embers. It loomed over them, radiating a sense of foreboding. "I am Nyoko, the guardian of the abyss. Your victory over Zai means nothing in my realm." Juma and Malika exchanged glances, their hearts racing. "We won't let you threaten our city," Juma shouted, summoning the light within him once more. Nyoko laughed, a sound that echoed like thunder. "You think your light can pierce the veil of darkness? You are but children playing with forces you cannot understand. With a flick of Nyoko's wrist, tendrils of darkness shot towards them, seeking to ensnare them. Malika barely managed to conjure a shield in time, the shadows crashing against it with a deafening roar. We need to combine our powers, she yelled, sweat beading on her forehead as she struggled to maintain her focus. On 3. Juma shouted. 1, 2, 3. As they united their magic, the light exploded forth, illuminating the shrine and casting Nyoko's shadow into sharp relief. The guardian shrieked, staggered by their combined force. You cannot defeat me. I am eternal. Nyoko howled, retreating into the shadows, gathering his strength for a counterattack. The battle continued as the shadows enveloped them, attempting to snuff out their light. With each pulse of dark energy, Juma felt his strength waning. Hold on, Juma. We can't give in. Malika urged, her voice fierce against the cacophony of darkness. They fought side by side, pushing back against Nyoko's relentless assault. The Guardian summoned waves of shadowy minions, each one more grotesque than the last, but Juma and Malika refused to back down. Think of everyone counting on us. Juma yelled, channeling his resolve. We have to protect our home. With newfound determination, they released a blinding surge of light that cut through the shadows, illuminating the shrine and forcing Nyoko to shield his eyes. No. This cannot be, he roared, but it was too late. Juma and Malika pressed forward, unleashing the full force of their combined magic. The light pierced through Nyoko's dark form, illuminating the depths of the abyss. In a final, desperate attempt, Nyoko howled in fury, his form dissolving into a torrent of shadows. But the light continued to shine, brighter and more potent than ever before, chasing away the darkness. Be gone! Juma shouted, his voice echoing through the woods as he pushed the shadows back into the void from which they came. With one last scream, Nyoko was consumed by the light, his dark power shattered, leaving behind only silence and the gentle rustle of leaves. As the dust settled, Juma and Malika stood, panting and exhausted but triumphant. We did it, Malika breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. Juma wrapped his arms around her, relief flooding through him. Together, we can face anything. In the aftermath of the battle, the city began to heal. News of their victory spread like wildfire, bringing hope to the weary souls who had endured the shadow's torment. Juma and Malika led efforts to fortify their community, ensuring that they would never again be vulnerable to the darkness. They organized gatherings, teaching everyone the importance of unity and vigilance, sharing stories of their battles and victories. Yet, even as they celebrated, Juma couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were always lurking just beyond the horizon, waiting for an opportunity to strike again. Months passed, and while the city thrived, whispers of darkness continued to echo through the streets. People spoke of strange dreams and shadowy figures glimpsed out of the corner of their eyes. One night, as Juma and Malika stargazed from their hilltop, the chilling wind swept through the air, carrying an unsettling voice. You think you've won? The shadows never truly disappear. Juma's heart raced as he glanced at Malika. Did you hear that? Yeah, she replied, unease creeping into her voice. We have to be ready. Determined to confront this new threat, Juma and Malika gathered their allies, preparing for another battle against the encroaching darkness. They delved into ancient texts, searching for answers, but the more they learned, the more they realized that Nyoko had been but a harbinger of something much larger. This darkness, it's part of a cycle, Malika murmured as they pored over the scrolls. There's a prophecy that speaks of a dark rebirth, a force that will rise every generation. Juma's stomach churned at the thought. We have to break this cycle. We can't let history repeat itself. As they prepared for the inevitable confrontation, strange occurrences continued to plague the city. Shadows began to take shape, whispering secrets and sowing seeds of doubt among the citizens. We must unite, Juma implored at a gathering of their coalition. If we allow fear to fester, we will lose everything we fought for. Malika nodded, her expression resolute. We need to find the source of this darkness. There's a hidden place, the realm that serves as the anchor for these shadows. We have to confront it. Juma and Malika, along with their bravest allies, embarked on a treacherous journey to locate the hidden realm. They ventured deep into the woods, where the air thickened with tension and shadows danced at the periphery of their vision. As they approached the entrance to the dark realm, the gaping maw of rock, exuding an ominous energy, they steeled themselves for what lay ahead. We have to be careful, Juma warned, his heart pounding. This place is a manifestation of all our fears. As they stepped inside, the darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating. They felt their resolve waver, but together they pressed on, determination driving them deeper into the shadows. Within the dark realm, Juma and his allies encountered nightmarish visions, twisted reflections of their past, designed to manipulate and torment them. Each step felt like a battle against their own doubts and fears. Stay focused, Malika shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness. Remember who we are. We can't let this consume us. As they navigated the treacherous landscape, Juma felt his heart swell with resolve. We are not alone in this. We have each other, he cried, bolstering his allies' spirits. With renewed determination, they pressed on until they reached a vast chamber, its walls pulsating with dark energy. At the center stood a twisted altar, surrounded by shadowy figures chanting in unison. This is it, Malika whispered, dread pulling in her stomach. We have to destroy that altar. As they advanced, the shadowy figures turned, their eyes glowing with malice. You dare to challenge the heart of darkness, one hissed, its voice echoing off the chamber walls. Juma took a deep breath, channeling his magic. We are here to end this, he declared, and with that, they unleashed a wave of light, pushing back against the shadows. The darkness writhed and screamed, but the figures remained steadfast, drawing power from the altar. The battle raged on as Juma, Malika, and their allies fought with everything they had. They combined their strengths, creating a barrier of light that surrounded the altar, pushing against the darkness. But the shadows fought back fiercely, clawing at their defenses, whispering doubts and fears into their minds. You're weak. You will never succeed, they taunted. Juma felt the shadows pulling at him, but he remembered the faces of his loved ones, the strength of their unity, and he pushed back. We won't give up. Not now, he shouted, his voice resonating with conviction. The light grew brighter, fueled by their resolve, as they pressed closer to the altar. With a final surge of energy, they focused their magic on the source of the darkness. The light exploded forth, shattering the shadows that clung to them. The figures screamed in agony as the power of the altar dissipated, their forms collapsing into wisps of darkness that vanished into the air. The chamber quaked as the darkness began to unravel, revealing ancient runes etched into the walls that pulsed with an ethereal glow. Now, destroy the altar, Malika urged, her voice cutting through the chaos. Juma stepped forward, channeling every ounce of magic he had left. Together, he shouted, joining hands with Malika and their allies. They focused their energy into a concentrated beam of light, aiming it directly at the altar. With a deafening roar, the beam struck the altar, causing it to shatter in a burst of light. The room exploded with blinding brilliance, the runes glowing intensely as the remnants of darkness were obliterated. As the light receded, Juma and his friends found themselves standing in a serene grove, surrounded by an otherworldly calm. The shadows had lifted, and the weight of fear that had plagued the city began to dissipate. Did we win? One of the allies murmured, blinking in disbelief. Juma looked around, relief flooding through him. I think we did. But we must remain vigilant. Darkness will always seek to return. Malika nodded, glancing back at the remnants of the chamber. We've broken the cycle, but we have to ensure this never happens again. As they made their way back through the woods, the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over everything. The vibrant colors of dawn filled Juma''s heart with hope. They had faced the abyss and emerged stronger, but the fight was not over. Returning to the city, they were greeted as heroes. The citizens gathered to celebrate their bravery, their spirits lifted by the triumph over darkness. Juma felt pride swell in his chest as he watched the community unite, sharing stories of courage and resilience. "Together, we are stronger," he declared, raising his arms in a gesture of unity. "We've faced the shadows and emerged victorious, but we must always stand together against the darkness." Days turned into weeks, and while the city began to heal, Juma couldn't shake the feeling that something was still lacking just out of sight. Rumors began to surface of strange occurrences, people vanishing, shadows creeping into homes at night. "We need to investigate," Malika said one evening, her brow furrowed with concern. "This darkness might not be gone for good." Juma agreed, feeling a sense of urgency wash over him. "Let's gather our allies and keep watch. We can't afford to let fear take hold again." As they organized nightly patrols, strange occurrences became more frequent. Shadows began to manifest in odd places, growing more bold with each passing night. Juma and Malika felt the tension in the air, a palpable sense of dread that gnawed at their resolve. "We have to confront this head-on," Juma said during a strategy meeting with their allies. "We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions." "But what if the darkness has found a way back?" one ally asked, concern etched on their face. "What if it's learned from its past mistakes?" Malika shook her head, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we must learn from our own. We've defeated it once, we can do it again." As the nights wore on, the shadows grew bolder. Juma began to have nightmares, visions of dark figures and whispering voices that sent chills down his spine. Each morning, he would wake drenched in sweat, the weight of the world pressing heavily on his shoulders. Malika noticed his distress. "You're not alone in this, Juma. We are all in this together," she reassured him, her grip tightening around his arm. "We'll face whatever comes next." But Juma couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness was gathering strength, preparing for a return that would test them like never before. One fateful night, as they patrolled the outskirts of the city, a chilling wind swept through the trees, bringing with it the unmistakable scent of decay. The shadows seemed to twist and turn, almost alive in their movement, whispering secrets just out of reach. "What is that?" Juma whispered, his heart racing. Malika squinted into the darkness. "It feels wrong. Like something is watching us." Before they could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, gaunt figure draped in tattered robes. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and an aura of malevolence surrounded it. "Welcome back, children of light," it hissed, its voice a haunting echo. "I am Kale, the Warden of Shadows. You may have defeated Nyoko, but you will not escape me." Juma and Malika exchanged wary glances. "What do you want from us?" Malika demanded, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. Kale chuckled darkly, the sound that sent shivers down their spines. "I seek what all shadows crave, chaos, fear, and the sweet taste of despair. Your light cannot protect you forever." Juma clenched his fists, the weight of Kale's presence pressing against him. "We won't let you harm our city." The warden stepped closer, shadows swirling around him. "Then prepare yourselves. The darkness is only just beginning." Kale vanished into the shadows, leaving Juma and Malika reeling. "We need to rally our allies," Juma urged, a sense of urgency igniting within him. "We have to prepare for whatever he's planning." Malika nodded, determination etched on her features. "We'll need every ounce of strength we can muster. Kale is powerful, and we cannot underestimate him." As they raced back to the city, Juma felt a sense of dread settle in his stomach. They had fought darkness before, but this time felt different. Kale was unlike anything they had faced, and the shadows seemed to shift and whisper around them, feeding off. When they returned to the city, they found it shrouded in an unnatural gloom. The air crackled with tension, and the streets were eerily silent. It felt as if the very essence of the city had been tainted. "Gather everyone," Juma shouted, urgency lacing his words. "We need to come together and prepare for the worst." As the citizens gathered, Juma addressed them, his voice strong. "We have faced darkness before, and we will face it again. But we must remain united. Together, we can withstand anything." The following night, Juma, Malika, and their allies set out to confront Kale. They gathered at the edge of the forest, where the shadows loomed thickest, ready for battle. "Stay close," Malika warned, her eyes scanning the darkness. "He could strike at any moment." As they entered the woods, the shadows began to writhe around them, growing more restless, their whispers becoming louder, a cacophony of fear. "Kale!" Juma shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. "We are here to end this." The darkness twisted and coiled, and from its depths, Kale emerged, a wicked smile spreading across his face. "You think you can stop me? You're but a flicker in the abyss." The confrontation erupted into chaos as Kale unleashed waves of shadows, aiming to envelop them in despair. But Juma and Malika stood firm, drawing upon the light within them. "Now!" Juma shouted, and they combined their magic, sending forth a brilliant wave of light that cut through the darkness. But Kale laughed, deflecting their attack with ease. "You underestimate the power of shadows. I thrive in darkness." As the battle raged on, the shadows clawed at them, trying to sow doubt and fear. Juma felt his strength waning, but he pushed through, focusing on the love and unity of his friends. "Remember what we fought for," Malika yelled, her voice filled with conviction. "Our light is stronger than his darkness." With renewed determination, Juma summoned every ounce of magic he had left. Together, he shouted as they united their powers once more, creating a blinding light that surged towards Kale. "No!" Kale screamed, his voice filled with rage as the light engulfed him, piercing through the shadows and banishing them to the void. As the light faded, the darkness lifted, and Juma, Malika, and their allies stood victorious. Kale had been vanquished, but Juma knew the fight against darkness would never truly end. "Today, we've proven that light can prevail," Juma said, looking around at the weary but triumphant faces of his friends. "But we must remain vigilant. Darkness will always seek to return." As they returned to the city, the dawn broke, casting warm light over the landscape. Juma felt hope fill his heart, knowing that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, the city began to heal, its citizens united.